This is the Mangalacharana to Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine. I salute him who is known in this world as His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is one of the, who is, I need more light to read the book once. I salute him who is known in this world as His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is of the same status as Lord Vishnu and is most dear to Lord Krishna. I offer my homage to the servant of Saraswati Goswami, who, by preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya, is delivering the Western countries from impersonalism and voidism. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruda Pasadanta Vantaharine. I salute him who is known in this world as His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, who is of the same status as Lord Vishnu and is most dear to Lord Krishna. I offer homage to him whose eternal identity is Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita, one very dear to Srimati Radharani, the daughter of Maharaj Vrishabhanu, who is powerful, an ocean of transcendental mercy, and a deliverer of the science of Krishna. O giver of Srila Rupa Goswami's treasure of bhakti, which is replete with divine love of Radha and Krishna, I bow to you, the very form of Lord Chaitanya's mercy potency. I offer homage to you, the manifestation of Lord Chaitanya's words, the savior of fallen souls and the remover of the darkness of incorrect conclusions that oppose the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami. As one who is cherished by Srimati Radharani, Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, although appearing in this world, Bhutale, is of the same status as the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Vishnupad, and is most dear to Lord Krishna, Krishna Preshta. Notwithstanding, or characteristic of, his exalted status, he extends himself to and uplifts fallen souls, Dinatari. Thus he is an ocean of mercy, Kripabdi, and indeed the very form of Lord Gauranga's mercy potency, Sri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigraha. His distribution of Lord Chaitanya's mercy is particularly via the medium of his message, of which he is the divine manifestation, Gauravani Sri Murti. Lord Gauranga came to give the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service in divine love, Unnatoj Rasa, which Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati distributes in the line following Srila Rupa Goswami, Madhuryojvala Premadya Sri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida, who presented the kernel of Lord Chaitanya's teachings by defining Shuddha Bhakti as favorable devotional service to Krishna, devoid of any trace of personal desire, Anyabhilashita Shunya. And there's a footnote for that. Anyabhilashita Shunya. For the full verse, see Volume 1, page 283. To differentiate and protect Shuddha Bhakti from various prevalent vitiated forms that claim the stewardship of Srila Rupa Goswami, yet grossly or subtly nourish desires other than to satisfy Krishna. Anyabhilasha. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as the best servant, sorry, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as the servant of the best of Srila Rupa Goswami's followers, i.e. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, removes the darkness of incorrect conclusions that oppose the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Nuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Hari, and is the powerful deliverer, Dayi Prabhu, of genuine knowledge of Shuddha Bhakti, beginning with the science of one's relationship with Krishna, Krishna Sambandha Vijnana, which leads to practical devotional service, Abhideya, and the ultimate goal, Prayojana, sweet resplendent love of Krishna, Madhuryojvala Prema. But note, the best of the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami refers to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is extolled as Rupa Nugavara in the standard pranam mantra for him given in this Mangala Charana. Encapsulated within the second and third verses of the standard pranam mantras to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati given above are the concepts of his giving knowledge of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. See Chaitanya Charitamrita 100, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 146, and Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 178. These pranam mantras to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati succinctly encapsulate and illuminate the essential esoteric ingredients of his personality, mission, and glories, and thus set the tenor for understanding the entire contents of this book. Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambodhe Padambujayate Namaha. I offer my homage to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, who is the very form of renunciation and the ocean of the mellow of separation from Krishna. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchit Ananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. I offer homage to Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, who is named Satchidananda, is the very form of Mahaprabhu's internal potency, and is the best follower of Srila Rupa Goswami. Goravir Baba Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Sajana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha. I offer homage to Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who ascertained Lord Chaitanya's appearance place, is very dear to the virtuous, and is the leader of the Vaishnavas. Grantera Arambe Kari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarane Haya Vigna Vinashana Annaya Haya Nija Vanchita Purana. At the beginning of this book, I invoke auspiciousness by remembering the Guru, the Vaishnavas, and Bhagavan, by remembrance of whom all obstacles are destroyed and personal desires easily fulfilled. Author's submission. Murka Nicha Kshudra Muni Vishaya Lalase Vaishnava Jnana Bale Kari Etika Sahase. I am foolish, lowborn, and insignificant, and I always desire material enjoyment. Yet by the order of the Vaishnavas, I am bold enough to write this book. Chaitanya Charitamrita 1.883. It is practically a joke that such a minuscule insect as myself would dare to write about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I am far inferior to a piece of dust that has only once touched his divine lotus feet. After more than 30 years of making a show of devotional service, I remain plodding in a rut of loathsome material desires. Finding myself in such an abominable condition, I have concluded that my only hope for elevation is the mercy of the Acharyas, especially that of my initiating spiritual master and savior, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and the representative of all previous Acharyas. without whose unprecedented and inimitable endeavor the vast majority of readers of this book could never have heard of Om Vishnupad Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. It is through his divine grace that not only someone as nondescript as I, but almost everyone else in the universe can be connected to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and through him to the Parampara, on up to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. Placing upon my head the dust of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's lotus feet, and taking hope in his being Adama Janara Bandhu, friend of the low, and Dinatari, uplifter of wretched souls, I have undertaken the indictment of this book as an act of worship and self-purification. I resemble the proverbial dwarf trying to catch the moon, since much that I have collected and recorded is beyond my comprehension. Still, just as the holy Saraswati River is worshipped with simple offerings of her own water, through this composition I worship Srila Saraswati Thakur. I offer this work to him through his most prominent disciple, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. By their mercy, I have been engaged in this project, which I pray they be satisfied with, and also beseech that they bless my feeble attempts to serve within their preaching mission. So just before we read some of the preface, and now I'll finish the preface. Inevitably, not all readers will accept Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as he is. Even a number of his professed discipular descendants will approach his Vani with half-hen logic. Here's a footnote. Half-hen logic, Ardha Kukuti Nyaya. Desiring to save money by not having to feed his hen, a foolish man cut off its head, vainly expecting the bird to still yield eggs from its rear. This maxim is often cited to portray the futility in accepting some scriptural teachings while whimsically rejecting others. To ignore, minimize, or redefine whatever does not appeal to their own sense gratificatory notions of bhakti. Yet, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava was written principally for the education of purified men who are thoroughly honest. In other words, devotees sincerely aspiring to follow in toto the sacred paths shown by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Loving devotees who hold Bhaktisiddhanta in their hearts will comprehend these topics, which are always pleasing to Vaishnavas. Genuine bhaktas become blissful by hearing them, whereas camel-like non-devotees and pseudo-devotees cannot enter into these matters. And if such persons do not understand, then what in all the three worlds could be more satisfying? Presumably, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava will be of interest also to secular students of religion, particularly those specializing in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. However, notwithstanding their scrupulous standards of research and exegesis, and their laboriously acquired accumulation of facts and figures, such external inquirers are by their very outlook disqualified from inner appreciation of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavism. For the neutrality and aloofness that purportedly define the academic position are self-defeating in the realm of spirituality, where commitment alone is the key. Indeed, that such a monumental acharya as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has to date been largely overlooked by academicians specializing in Gaudiya Vaishnavism bears testimony to their committed mundaneness and resultant inability to recognize the essential. Footnote: an example of such woeful ignorance is in Professor Dimmock's introduction to the Harvard edition of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Despite being a lifelong scholar of Bengali Vaishnavism, Dimmock stated that Barsho Banavidayita Das and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were separate authors of two different commentaries, both called Anubhasya, within different editions of the Gaudiya Math publication of that text. Even a cursory inspection would have revealed that the quote, two, end quote, commentaries are the same, with merely the author's name presented differently. Achintya kaluye bhava na tams tarkina yojayat prakriti param yakcha tad achintyasya lakshanam. Whatever is beyond material nature is thus inconceivable to persons within it, and cannot be grasped through mundane reasoning. Mahabharat, Bhishma Parva, 522. The endeavor of small-minded scholars to classify Vaishnavas according to psychological or sociological criteria, as if, like ordinary mortals, Vaishnavas are primarily products of their environment, volitionally denies the spiritual dimension that empowers devotees. Certainly, to subject Vaishnavas to analytic methods born of partial experience and imperfect conceptions is from the outset preposterous and offensive. Those who consider transcendental personages to be objects of empiric study, ipso facto, can never understand them. Only they who seek mercy from such great souls may be blessed with comprehension of their glories. In the words of Professor N.K. Sanyal, a prominent disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the empiric historian, with his geological and chronological apparatus of observation, can have really no proper idea of the grotesque anomaly that he unconsciously perpetrates by his pedantic effort to gauze the absolute by the standard supplied to her victim by his deluding energy in the form of the mundane categories that can only limit and define them, whereas the function to be performed is to get rid of the necessity to do either. The empiric consciousness is not in the absolute consciousness at all. It can only bungle and commit a deliberate blunder by attempting to limit and define the immeasurable under the pleas of a necessity that need not be supposed to exist at all. By the empiric attitude, one is led to launch out on the quest of the absolute truth with the resources of admittedly utter ignorance. This foolhardiness must be made to cease. The method of submissive inquiry enjoined by the scriptures should be substituted after being properly learnt by those who have themselves attained to the right knowledge of the same by the right method of submission. End quote. To exoteric vision, great acharyas resemble common men, inasmuch as they walk, talk, eat, travel, undergo sickness, and in many other ways seem like anyone else. But a devotee's existence is quite distinct from that of a conditioned soul. Just as each thought, word, and deed of ordinary persons is impelled by the deluding influence of the material energy, the movements of pure devotees are conducted by the Supreme Lord's Lila Shakti, internal potency. Thus, like Krishna himself, pure devotees who come to this world are never really part of it. Etad ishanam ishasya prakritisto pitad gunai na yujate sadatmaster yata buddhis tadashraya. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though in contact with them. Similarly, devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord are never influenced by mundane qualities. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11-38. Unlike conditioned souls ever enmeshed in Maya, pure devotees remain perpetually immersed in intense love for Krishna, thus infusing each moment of even their seemingly routine affairs with the ecstasy of their heart's craving for Krishna. Krishna is the life of his devotees, and a devotee lives only to serve his beloved Lord, Sri Krishna. A Vaishnava is fully engaged in that service even before his apparent birth, and upon leaving the plane of mortal vision, he returns to the realm of eternal service. Hence, a Vaishnava's life and activities are clearly distinct from those of ordinary people, which have a discernible beginning and end, and may be considered a product of their contemporary historical and sociological ethos. A Vaishnava is not limited by time nor conditioned by his terrestrial surroundings. because in all times and all places he remains absorbed in holy spiritual service to Krishna, beyond the constrictive vector of mundane time and space. Hence, reference to a Vaishnava's life should be understood to indicate his transcendental existence manifested within the plane of temporal existence. Eternally perfect Vaishnavas appear in human society solely to bring others back to the immortal abode, which they themselves keenly hanker for in separation. By their causeless mercy, they infuse devotion into the hearts of those who have neglected Krishna since time immemorial. Accordingly, even though a Nitya Siddha Maha Bhagavat, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, may appear to transit through various phases of spiritual development, or be tutored in the principles of bhakti, enlightened thinkers accept that even before being formally instructed, a liberated soul is never bereft of knowledge of Krishna, and indeed is so enriched by such realization as to be empowered to similarly enrich others. The character and activities of such exalted devotees can be appreciated only from the plane of divinity, which they represent and to which they beckon us, and will remain ever inexplicable to persons unwilling to embrace the spirit of their teachings. Such outsiders are warned not to equate the transcendental actions, moods, and emotions of redoubtable devotees with the counterpart expressions of common men. Mature students of Vaishnava theology know well that the anger, disappointment, and other apparently less desirable traits of a Mahabhagavat are as much spotless manifestations of his unsullied attachment to Krishna as are his renunciation, tranquility, modesty, and other such qualities considered exclusively adorable by persons ignorant of transcendental reality. This point is repeatedly elaborated in the biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherein simpletons are cautioned not to ascribe imperfection to unimpeachable saints who are beyond their scope of ideation. Yanra chitte Krishna prema karaye udai, tanravakya kriya mudra vigneha na bujhai. Even the most learned man cannot comprehend the words, activities, and symptoms of one situated in love of Godhead. CC 2:23-39. As Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati elucidated, although to external vision the activities of a devotee and the mischievousness of a pseudo-devotee may appear the same, there is a gulf of difference between them, like that between milk and a mixture of limestone and water. Worldly people cannot understand devotees. If they could understand, they would become renounced like the devotees, but that they do not want. End quote. Even the seeming sickness and other apparent adversities undergone by Mahabhagavats must be accepted as Leela and not misconstrued as equivalent to the karmic sufferings of conditioned souls. As Srila Saraswati Thakur often quoted, Yatadeka Vaishnavera Vyavahara Tukha Nishchaya Janiha Se Parananda Sukha Vishaya Madanda Saba Kichu Na Jane Vidya Made Dana Made Vaishnava Na Chine. Be convinced that the stress seen in a Vaishnava is actually the happiness of spiritual bliss. Persons blind and intoxicated with sense pleasures know nothing of this. In the pride of knowledge and wealth, they fail to recognize a Vaishnava. Chaitanya Bhagavat 2:9, 240 to 41. And he explained, pure devotees are never forced to experience the fruits of their karma. All their pastimes, such as taking birth, are enacted simply by the Lord's will. But it is often seen that devotees appear in low-class families, or to ordinary eyes seem like fools, or to be afflicted with disease. Footnote: in Vedic understanding, the concept of low birth has an import quite different from that of the politely democratic lower class of standard English usage. For further explanation, see Volume 2, page 112 to 13. There is a great purpose behind this. If people were to detect that the Lord's devotees appear only in high-class families, and are always strong, healthy, and well educated according to material calculation, they would become discouraged. As evidenced, end quote, sorry. As evidenced from their mutual correspondence, the compilers of Saraswati Jai Shri took much care to describe their Gurudev in a manner meant to prevent readers from being influenced by Martya Buddhi, the misunderstanding that a transcendentally situated devotee is subject to the defects of ordinary mortals. Indeed, even to describe Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as a lion-like guru or Shakyavesh avatar, while not incorrect, is incomplete. As he himself revealed, the guru is to be considered either a confidant, Priya Sakhi, of Srimati Radharani, or a manifested representation of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. Certain disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur detected that in the eternal pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna, he is Nayana Mani Manjari, a young girl assistant of Srimati Radharani, and the personification of her gazing at Krishna. Such intimate devotees of Srimati Radharani do not belong to this world, nor can they be fathomed by the feeble methodologies that it spawns. Only from the plane of the Absolute, which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati represented and directed others to, can one at least somewhat comprehend his glories. Even though a great Vaishnava preacher may live among ordinary beings, he is nonetheless always above them, and perhaps very few will truly appreciate him. Within a day of Brahma, but one or two pure devotees of the stature of Srila Saraswati Thakur might appear in this universe. To gain the association of such an extraordinarily exalted Mahatma is more valuable and pleasing than completing millions of pilgrimages, studying millions of Shastras, or assiduously following Shastriya prescriptions for millions of years. Yet even among pious souls dedicated to reciting, studying, and living according to authorized scripture, or among those extremely fortunate souls counted as disciples of Srila Saraswati Thakur, hardly a few persons could truly recognize the value of such association. The almost unlimited gap between such illustrious souls and ourselves may be bridged only by their mercy, which they bestow upon those sincerely desiring to receive it. The magnitude of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's remarkable character, as chronicled herein, stands as testimony and warning to devotees in subsequent generations that the role of guru is not a matter of razzmatazz, but may be properly conducted only by faithfully following anusarana in the footsteps of genuinely liberated devotees, and not by attempting to imitate anukarana their anyway inimitable behavior and achievements. The lives of Mahabhagavad Vaishnavas are full of magnificent transcendental activities in service to Lord Krishna. Their every moment is replete with profound meaning. How much can be recorded? How much can be preserved? And how much is our ability to appreciate? Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami writes, Gora Lila Amrita Sindhu Apara Agadha Ekarite Pare Tahan Avagaha Sadha Ahara Madhurya Gandhe Lubahayaman Ateva Tatirahi Chaki Ekakana. The ocean of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is immeasurable and unfathomable. Who is able to bathe therein? Its sweetness and fragrance attract my mind. Therefore I stand on its shore and taste but a drop of it. CC 112, 94 to 95. Unfortunately, many instructive pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur are now irrecoverably lost. And not only did he himself perform innumerable wonderful activities, but so also did the transcendental warriors he recruited, trained, and inducted into the preaching arena. Had all the adventures of each of his acolytes been recorded, it would have filled countless volumes. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava comprises just a tiny nugget from the vast treasure of the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and his associates, and a mere glimpse of his teachings, yet it is our humble attempt to conserve and present at least a fragment of that important legacy. I have to get some water. Notwithstanding its inevitable faults, I am confident that this book will be um, I'm confident that this book will be um okay. Had all the adventures Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava comprises just a tiny nugget from the vast treasure of the pastimes of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and his associates, and a mere glimpse of his teachings. Yet it is our humble attempt to conserve and present at least a fragment of that important legacy. Footnote: let us not make the same mistake in this generation. Although His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was the first acharya in history about whom extensive biographical detail has been recorded, still the remembrances of most of his disciples remained unrecorded. Devotees are naturally eager for such memoirs, for hearing about the Parampara acharyas gives inspiration, instruction, and hope. Even though in his books, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has given all knowledge required for going back to Godhead, nevertheless, we request all of his disciples to expand the ocean of nectar by recording and publishing their experiences with him, even if they be few or apparently insignificant. Let us collect and publish dozens of books on the pastimes of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Notwithstanding its inevitable faults, I am confident that this book will be interesting and enlivening to most readers. And more importantly, as Jati Shekhara Prabhu noted, it will give valuable instructions to practitioners and preachers of Krishna consciousness by providing edifying anecdotes and realizations, as well as intimate insights into guru-disciple relationships and other crucial facets of devotional life, all of which could help even mature and experienced devotees delve further into the intricacies of Bhakti Siddhanta and deepen their understanding of the roots of the current worldwide Bhakti movement. Furthermore, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava should fill a lacuna in the knowledge of our heritage. For instance, prior to its publication, many senior and well-read members of ISKCON were unfamiliar with even the name of Sri Sundarananda Vidyanoda. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati stated that Saraswati Jai Shri was so abundant in factual examples and anecdotes that reading it would bestow a result unattainable even by studying many shastras for many years. Hence, I pray that this volume, being similarly rich with Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, by his mercy will bestow similar benediction on its readers. It particularly aims to better acquaint his discipler descendants with knowledge of what he gave and how he gave it, with the hope that they preserve and not dilute or pollute his essential gifts, and that by being better equipped to serve his mission, they will spread his message throughout the globe and thereby obtain his blessings. Collecting materials for and weaving the tapestry that comprises this presentation has been a prolonged learning experience, affording an ever increasingly profound meditation on the divine qualities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and the numerous great souls who gathered round him. Notwithstanding my failings, I pray at the lotus feet of my Parama Gurudev that he be pleased to appear in these pages, his splendorous attributes shining through. I pray that the reader's regard for him be similarly enhanced, and that they become inspired to follow in his divine footsteps by adopting his unswerving mood of sacrificing everything for Krishna. May his dynamic spirit energize us, and his purity sustain and nourish us. So, now a little bit into the book is this chapter, Rapid Expansion. Uh, okay, and the heading in this chapter here, A Murderous Attack. Gaudamandala Parikrama was followed by the fifth annual Navadvip Dham Parikrama, during which the smoldering opposition of the caste Goswamis came to a head. Srila Saraswati Thakur had fearlessly and consistently contested the nefarious practices of false devotees, such as levying temple entrance fees, performing kirtan and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam for monetary gain, and becoming quote unquote gurus by profession. Furthermore, his propagating that Mayapur was the actual site of Lord Chaitanya's Avirbhava was increasingly harming the business of the temple proprietors of Navadvip. The previous year, by organizing a quasi-religious meeting adjacent to the parikrama during its stopover in Pulia, local caste Goswamis had ineffectually attempted to divert attention away from the parikrama. Thereafter, tension between the two parties remained high, and conflict seemed inevitable. In defiance of the hedge, wobbly hejam, hejam, wobbly hegemony of the professed Goswamis, on 4th March 1925, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati again marched into their stronghold Kulia along with 600 to 700 followers, including many women accompanying the small Sri Radha Govinda deities riding on an elephant. After resting at midday in a dharmashala, in the evening the party reassembled at the spot where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was to lecture. Shortly after the pilgrims arrived, some rowdies showered dust, dirt, gravel, cow dung, and garbage on them, and raucously demanded that they stop kirtan. A local caste Goswami entered among the group and tried to incite a quarrel, but the parikrama participants sagaciously remained calm, and to avoid an affray, unobtrusively dispersed into the dusk. They briskly returned to the dharmashala, being jibed at and threatened as they went. Considering that the parikrama would not be complete without hearing about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, uh, the pastimes Mahaprabhu had enacted in that locale. The next morning, 100 to 200 pilgrims, mostly males, returned to the place where they had been intimidated the previous evening. While Srimat Tirtha Maharaj was lecturing, a gang of ruffians suddenly appeared and pelted brickbats at the elephant's trunk. Parikrama attendees admonished the aggressors to desist from the offensive act of harassing the deity's mount, and to their surprise, the rogues departed. But minutes later, they returned, wielding large sticks, which they had kept ready in proximate shops. The defenseless pilgrims quickly brought the deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda down into their midst, thinking that surely these felons would not continue their atrocities in the direct presence of the Lord. Then a well-known rich man of Navadvip drove up in a car and barked out an order, upon which ruthless blackguards lurking nearby, some perched on rooftops, let forth a volley of brickbats. Minute. The Mahout quickly maneuvered the elephant away from trouble, but escape was not so easy for the pilgrims. Some found shelter in homesteads, yet most doors remained shut. The few brave householders who dared offer refuge had their doors kicked and beaten on. Some devotees fled down adjacent alleys. Those who beseeched local coachmen to transport them were scornfully refused, and became further aghast to behold the horse carts loaded with stones as ammunition. The few devotees who tried to fight back were outnumbered and beleaguered. Bhakti Saranga Prabhu was captured yet remained undaunted, asserting himself boldly even though threatened to be offered as a human sacrifice on the spot. A few devotees suffered severe gashes and fractures. A youth was knocked unconscious. Mridungas and banners were broken, and Kunjabi Hare Prabhu was robbed of 600 rupees and his winter clothing. But although Navadweep's streets became stained by the blood of Vaishnavas, by Lord Nrsimhadev's grace, none were killed. Srila Saraswati Thakur had escaped due to the adroitness of Vinoda Bihari Brahmachari, who had entreated a reluctant house owner to give them entry. Therein, Vinoda Bihari, being similar in size and appearance to his Gurudev, swapped his white clothing with the red of his Guru Maharaj. With great risk, he then escorted Srila Saraswati Thakur back to Mayapur. As was later revealed by sympathetic local residents, the dastardly attack had been planned by certain caste Goswamis, who most grossly offended both the deities and an acclaimed acharya by unconscionably hiring criminals to perpetrate violence on pilgrims engaged in peacefully chanting Harinam in a holy place, who should have been received as guests in the sacred dham. This was their rejoinder to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's exposure of their cheating in the name of Lord Chaitanya. Having no power to counteract his message, they had stooped to the lowest level in trying to stop him. But stop him they could not. The shocked public sided with the Gaudiya Math, and the pilgrimage continued under police protection. The flagitious tactics of the Jata Gosais had backfired. For this incident ineradicably tarnished their reputation and influence. Overnight, the caste Goswami's opposition to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati lost whatever apparent credibility it previously had. As news of the assault spread throughout Bengal, learned circles protested in magazines and newspapers. 4 days later, Ananda Bazar Patrika quoted an eyewitness. I witnessed the reenactment of what Jagai and Madai did to Sri Nityananda Prabhu over 400 years ago. Subsequently, the chief police inspector of Navadweep was cashiered, and the next year the Parikrama party was protected by an escort of 36 policemen. Srila Saraswati Thakur mentioned the episode in his commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. A few days ago in Kulia Nagara, some persons with the help of a few fierce miscreants, rather than offering respect, unfairly attacked innocent Vaishnava sannyasis, brahmanas, and devotee women, all of whom had come to participate in circumambulating the Dham. All these are simply unfavorable activities against the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Dev. However, when urged to make a case against the hooligans, Srila Saraswati Thakur declined, opining that they had done yeoman service. Otherwise, how could the Gaudiya Math have been featured on the front pages of all the newspapers? (1926 to 1930). In June 1926, Srila Saraswati Thakur founded the Sri Sanatana Gaudiya Math at Banaras. Footnote, thus named in commemoration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's having instructed Sri Sanatana there, as described in CC 220 to 24. A local newspaper reported, to the great fortune of Benares, the Mat has newly been established. Casting aside the rind of fruit of acts and the seed of dry wisdom, the luminaries of the Mat are approaching every denizen of the city with the ambrosial substance of the Veda Shastras. There is no denying the fact that the disinterested endeavor of the devotees will ere long draw out the fallen from dusty oblivion. We are happy to see the mission gaining sympathy daily from all quarters. Another of the several new centers opened that year was in Cuttack, the Satchidananda Mat, named after Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod, who for some time had been posted in Cuttack as a school teacher. Srila Saraswati Thakur stated that at the Satchidananda Mat there should be service to the Satchidananda deity, and that it should be a theism research institute. On 22nd July 1926, the Utkala Mirror announced, "It will be a matter of great delight for the people of Orissa to know that a new Vaishnava Mat, as a branch of the Sri Chaitanya Mat at Navadvip, has recently been started at Cuttack. The well-known Gaudiya Mat of Calcutta and the Sri Purushottama Mat at Puri are two branches. The Sabha commands service to many highly educated Vaishnavas who are solely devoted to the task of preaching the true Vaishnava religion." Sri Radha Mohana Patnaik, sub-deputy collector, commented, "The cult of pure Vaishnavism, with its intense spiritualism as preached by Lord Chaitanya, was almost declining on account of the degradation and selfishness of its latter-day followers. Many evils and corrupt practices crept into it, so much so that people were beginning to abhor the very name of a Vaishnava. Thanks are due to the Vishva Vaishnava Raja Sabha, which has earnestly and vigorously taken up the work of reconstruction and revival, with a view to putting an end to all grotesque and monstrous forms of perverted religion introduced by selfish and degenerate pseudo-Vaishnavas. Already its labors have begun to bear fruit, and it is expected that in the near future the mission will command worldwide success. The distinguished and devoted band of highly cultured sannyasi preachers, who have sacrificed all that is material at the altar of love and devotion, are doing excellent work in the field. The visit of Swami Giri to this historic town has been hailed with delight by all sincere seekers after truth, and his presence and activities have created a stir in the pseudo-Vaishnava world." Footnote, Swami Giri, Srimad Bhakti Sarvasva, Srimad Bhakti Sarvasva Giri Maharaj, a Gaudiya Mat sannyasi. Since his stay at the Satchidananda Mat at Cuttack, he has been trying his best to secure the sympathy and cooperation of all communities, irrespective of caste and creed, to make this Mat a permanent religious institution in the capital of Orissa, for the propagation of the true Vaishnava religion, and for dissemination of healthy Vaishnava literature published under the auspices of the Vishva Vaishnava Raja Sabha. Gradually, by the influence of Srila Saraswati Thakur's inspired preaching, several wealthy men came forward to donate for temple construction, some of them also becoming his disciples. Sri Sakhi Charana Rai contributed the entire cost of the mandir at the birth site of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur. Similarly, Sri Madan Mohan Das Adhikari bore the expenses for the principal temple of the Sri Chaitanya Mat at Mayapur. Spiritual discourses were regularly conducted in the adjoining Avidya Harana Sarasvat Natya Mandir, or Avidya Harana Shravana Sadhana, named both for the devotee who had donated for its construction and for its function of removing ignorance, Avidya Harana. Footnote, Shravana Sadhana, house of hearing. The temple and most of the accompanying buildings of the Mat and Madras were funded by the Maharaj of Jaipur, Orissa. Dr. Vikram Varma, D. Lit. Its assembly hall was built by Sir Onirula Pillai, a contractor of Madras. Footnote: the present temple of the Chennai Gaudiya Math was completed and inaugurated in 1937 after the passing of Srila Saraswati Thakur. In September 1928, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati laid the foundation for a major new temple on just over 3 acres adjoining the Ganga in Bagh Bazar, Calcutta. The complex was envisioned to be far more opulent and sizable structure than the previous, with all facilities and accoutrements suitable for a dynamic and prominent religious movement. The location was of great spiritual significance, as evidenced by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's repeatedly stating during a visit to the building site, Mahaprabhu must have blessed this place with the touch of his divine feet. There is no doubt about it. On the way from Nagara, Mahaprabhu definitely stopped here on the bank of the Ganga and performed Sankirtan with his associates. Speaking thus, he became overwhelmed by transcendental emotion. Sri Bhakti Saranga Goswami conjectured, that is probably why this land remained vacant for so long. Otherwise, there being so many available plots in Calcutta, how has this one become the site for the new math? Footnote: Bhakti Saranga Goswami was a Grihastha devotee who had left home to serve as a full-time preacher. Sri Jagabandhu Bhakti Ranjana Prabhu, the sole donor, took charge of construction and pushed hard to quickly realize the project. But after 2 years of intense effort and a few postponed openings, it remained unfinished, mostly because Jagabandhu Prabhu refused to compromise on quality and his ever adding some new ornate decoration. Finally, it was decided to occupy the buildings in their incomplete condition. On 12th October 1930, the Liberty reported, on Sunday, the 5th October last, the streets of North Calcutta were scenes of a record procession on the occasion of the new Gaudiya Math constructed in Bagh Bazar. Devotees from different provinces of India, viz. Bengal, Assam, Bihar, Orissa, Madras, United Provinces, and the Punjab, had been pouring into Calcutta for days before the ceremony. Since Sunday morning, sympathizers and disciples began to gather at the premises of the old Gaudiya Math, and toward noon its surroundings, extending up to Circular Road and Maniktola Junction, presented the view of a vast sea of heads. Hundreds of Sankirtan parties from different quarters of Calcutta and suburbs, varieties of concert and band parties joined the procession. The Sri Vigrahas of the Gaudiya Math, Sri Gaura Vinoda Anandaji, preceded and followed by congregational chant of the holy name, mounted on a most sumptuously decorated car, Rath, were on the move at 2:30 p.m. amidst deafening shouts of Harinam by the vast multitude in unison with the devotees of the Math. Conch shells were blown, various kinds of music began to play, Veda mantras and selected Sanskrit hymns were being chanted, and the concerted sound of Sankirtan seemed to rend the skies as the car rolled on at the instance of Paramahamsa Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, the Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, preceded and followed by innumerable devotees with flags, festoons, silver rods, and silver spears. The procession was about 2 miles long. The whole city seemed to be in a tremor, and it was a sight for the gods to see. The car was a piece of true artistic beauty in perfect keeping with the solemn occasion. In charming costumes, the soul enrapturing beauty of the Sri Vigrahas on the car was the cynosure of all eyes. Millions of eager visitors thronged the footpaths, corridors, and roofs throughout the route of the procession. Calcutta had not witnessed such a gigantic religious procession within the memory of its oldest citizens. The procession, which consisted of no less than 43 distinct sections, was formed inside the line by about 25,000 persons on a rough estimate. All classes of people joined the parade, including several dignitaries of the secular world. The windows and verandas overlooking the 2-mile route, which took nearly 4 hours to traverse, were packed with ladies taking darshan from above the crowd. The Gaudiya described the event, quote, "Today the city of Calcutta has become stunned. Everyone left his daily work meant for maintaining his belly. When the tumultuous sound of kirtan was heard on the streets of Calcutta, all the people were attracted, left whatever they were doing, and came dashing into the street. The devotees accompanying the chariot were singing a paean composed by Srila Saraswati Thakur, especially for the occasion. Matala Harijana Vishayarange, Ujala Raja Pata Gaurava Bange, Brahmalo Chadi Boga Chinmay Bange, Dalo Pati Pati Bakata Sange, Chadola Paragara Archita Gange, Bujhalo Rasanite Nachatodange. Although apparently absorbed in material affairs, Hari's own people were actually worshipping on the spontaneous path and thus broke the mood of reverential worship. Footnote. Apparently absorbed in material affairs refers to the Gaudiya Math's devotees' seeming penchant for money and the trappings of fine living, such as lavish buildings and motor cars. But this verse indicates that Gaudiya Math members were not infatuated with the grandeur either of this world or even of Vaikuntha, being internally absorbed in worship on the spontaneous path, Raga Pat. An alternative translation is Hari's own people reveled in satisfying the transcendental senses of Sri Krishna, worshipping in awe the path of spontaneous love. Having rejected mundane enjoyment, they wandered in spiritual Bengal, running on the roads with other devotees. Giving up another's house and worshipping the Ganga, they danced gracefully with understanding of the workings of rasa. Footnote. Another's house refers to the rented property they had vacated.